Gold 104.5.
Peter Tork on Throwback Thursday, and then tonight he's going to be at DSW Shoe Warehouse between 7 and 8. That's on 82nd Street, west of Allisonville Road. What is the current status of the Monkees? Together, thinking about it, or never again?
All of the above.
All of the above.
The Monkees are at the moment not together. We are all ex-Monkees for the moment. There is no plans to get together this year. We might do it next. Monkees 2000. That's the last word. From Gold 104.5.
We're right on time. But when was the last time you actually spoke with another Monkee?
I would have been Thursday.
Thursday?
Yeah.
Today's Thursday.
No, last Thursday.
Last Thursday.
Yeah, I think, or so, or maybe a week ago, before that. I talked to everybody from time to well, not Mike. Mike and I don't know why. Mike doesn't talk to anybody anymore.
Huh.
You heard about him. He won $47 million
Yes.
from PBS, and we pay our taxes for them to be greedy and try to rip him. They tried to rip him off. Did you know PBS tried to rip him off?
I had heard that, yeah.
Yes, evidently. At least that's what Michael tells me.
Yeah.
And
but I thought he wasn't talking.
Well, this was before.
Oh.
We did a show. The four of us actually got together, performed together in England in March a couple of years ago, and had a pretty good time. And then Michael went his separate ways and didn't say anything to anybody except to inform our management that he wasn't doing it, and we haven't heard from him.
Maybe it'll take some time.
Maybe. Well, he was busy writing. He also has a novel out. But I don't want to talk about him.
Okay, well, that's all.
You could buy his novel if you want, but I'm actually here to sell my product.
Okay.
And that is,
I have a CD. Yeah, I have a CD, which I will.
Really?
Yeah, which we can play at least part of a couple of cuts on this radio station because I do a couple of covers of oldies tunes.
Oh, great.
So we can stay within the format, more or less.
We also might sneak in a couple old Monkee songs.
You might do that, would you?
We
that wouldn't
sure
be too
will.
bad a thing to do.
Let's go back to the beginning. Let's start from the top. As a kid,
I was born very young.
That's a lovely story. When did you start playing musical instruments?
I took my first lesson when I was 6, but it didn't take until 9. When I was 9 years old, I started taking piano lessons, and I have been playing continuously ever since, and boy, are my arms tired.
Hey, wait, we should have a thing. Wait, we got...
you got one of these? Hold on.
Let me know. Give me a sign whenever you want that.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
That one's not very good.
Oh, we got more.
Oh, okay. Modern advanced electronics. Okay.
Where did you live as a kid? You were all over the place.
All over the place, yeah. Born in D.C., moved to Detroit and Berlin, Germany, and a couple of towns in Wisconsin, all before we settled more or less finally in Connecticut.
Somebody called yesterday, wanted me to ask you if you have a brother who played pro football.
No.
All right.
Yeah, I remember that
Urban
yesterday.
myth. Man named something, I don't forget his first name, Eric Torkelson, played for the University of Wisconsin and later on went to play pro ball. But no relation.
No relation to you.
As a matter of fact, no, I beg your pardon. He played in Connecticut. That's what caused the rumor. He started playing ball in Connecticut and went on to play for the Packers, I think. But no relation. No, it spells the name different. My name is spelled Thorkelson. Looks like Thorkelson. But we pronounce it Torkelson. We're the only family like that. I don't know. It's so strange. I've always been strange.
Yeah, well, tell me about life in the music scene in Greenwich Village, early 1960s.
Oh boy, Dreamsville, a total wonderfulness. I was liberated. I was free. I was a hippie in Greenwich Village.
Right.
Oh yeah, it was great. You couldn't ask for a better life.
Were you playing music for a living?
Yeah.
Did that pay the bills?
Yeah, well, such as they were. I mean, I shared a rundown apartment with a couple of other guys and went out at night. We played coffee house circuit in Greenwich Village from a quarter of the hour from 7 in the evening until 4 in the morning.
Oh,
6 nights a week. Yeah, right. It was a lot of fun.
And you're playing guitar,
banjo and guitar. Yeah, I'd go, after between sets, go get a slice and a beer and go back and do it again. And that was the life.
What do you remember from those days about a couple of people? Roger McGuinn of the Byrds.
Yeah, Jim.
Was it Jim then?
Yeah,
okay.
He was Jim then. McGuinn, yeah, great 12-string guitar player back then. It was. We were, I remember he and I and Richie Havens, Jose Feliciano, of whom we don't hear very much anymore, but he was there. Steve Stills was the kid on the street who looked like me. I mean, these people kept, there's this new kid on the street, he looks like you. And I met him finally 2-3 days later. I looked at him, I knew instantly. I said, you're the kid that looks like me. He said, you're the kid I'm supposed to look like.
Huh.
Yeah.
How about Cass Elliot?
Cass was not there.
No. When did you meet her?
A couple of years later, I got a job playing guitar and banjo for a group called the Phoenix Singers. And we toured, and one of the first places we played was Washington, D.C., and I met Zal Janowski of the later of the Love and Spoonful, John Sebastian. No, not John then. John from the Village. I knew John from the Village. But Zal and Denny Doherty and Cass.
Wow.
They were all in. They were working. Zal and Denny were working for a penny. You know, like from Creek Alley. Do you know Creek Alley? The Mamas and Papas song. That's where they were. They were working for a penny or so at these. Zal was playing guitar. Denny was playing bass, and the two of them were singing just a little electric duo in some bar in D.C. And Cass was working, and they were just envious as hell, wishing they could get into a band with her. One of them made it. The other one had to settle for the Love and Spoonful.
Now, how did you end up in Los Angeles? You were in New York, and somehow you end up in L.A.
Oh, now there's a story.
Yeah.
I was walking down the street one day. Sounds like a song, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I was the recipient of intelligence. Now, I'm not going to go into the hows and whys and wherefores. You know, it's totally mysterious. But I was informed that I was to leave town. I just get out of town.
What are you talking about?
I'm telling you. I just was walking down the street and was struck, informed.
By who?
I don't know.
Or what? Was
I don't know.
A physical person, or you heard a voice in your head?
Right, no physical person.
This was a voice?
Well, it wasn't a voice. There was no English. It was just the conveyance of intelligence.
Okay.
I was just informed.
Right.
I was informed that I was to get out of town. I go, okay, I'll take your word for it. And I just said, well, just let me clear up a few things, and then I will go to either L.A. or San Francisco, whichever provides where I can get transportation to and a place to stay in. Well, that turned out to be L.A. I got these people said, well, we're taking a 37 Chevy to L.A. You want to come along? And I had a friend who had just moved out there and would put me up for it. I said, sure. L.A., here I come. And I jumped in this 37, it blew a rod and started spewing smoke just this side of Las Vegas. We hitchhiked the rest of the way. And this was I landed in Orange County, California, just the end of June in 65. And by August 65, I was involved in the auditions for the Monkees.
We're going to find out about those auditions.
So the voice had something to say to me, didn't it? It wanted me someplace for a reason.
Apparently.
Okay.
September 8th, 1965, this ad appeared in Variety. Madness. Auditions. Folk and rock musicians, singers for acting roles in new TV show. 437 young men showed up, including Paul Williams. And is it true that Charlie Manson was at the audition?
No.
No?
What?
No. Urban myth.
Is it a myth?
Alligators in the toilets, everything. Urban
Not
myth.
true.
Or not true.
Okay. Because that certainly would have given the show a different flavor,
You think so?
You get the funny one, the cute one, the smart one, and
the killer, right?
Homicidal cult leader. Yeah. Now, your friend Stephen Stills was at the auditions.
He was not at the auditions, as I understand it, although I only know what he tells me. He met Bob Rafelson, who was one of the producers, met him socially, and Bob told him, "You'd be perfect if your hair and teeth were telegenic. Do you know anybody who looks like you?"
Oh,
who's also talented? And Steve thought of his old pal Peter
from the Village.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Wow!
And called me up and said, "You should go try out for this thing. This guy's doing a Hard Day's Night type TV show." I said, "Yeah." And he called me again. He had to call me a second time and say, "Listen, you really ought to try out for this thing." I went, "Oh, okay." And so I took a bus up. I thought I had an in. I walked into the cattle call.
Wow.
Throwback Thursday with Peter Tork on Gold 104.5. Do you remember the first time that they assembled all four of you together after the auditions and said, okay, Peter, this is Mickey, Mike, this is Davey, you guys are going to be... Do you? What happened?
Well, nothing much. Just shook hands with each other. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Nice meeting you. That kind of thing.
At this point, how much experience did you have as an actor?
I'd been doing a lot of amateur theatricals. I was in college, a couple of plays. I was the player king in Hamlet, and anon he finds him striking two shorted Greeks. His iron takes sword rebellious to his arm.
Wow.
Lies when it falls, repugnant to command.
Ooh.
Yeah, I did that. That was me. I was like that. Had a good time with that. Ulysses in Nighttown. I mean, it was a pretty high-tone school. Everybody thought this was and amateur theatricals at home in high school and college, and I was always doing theater at my home. We were showing movies to the kids. Entertainment's been in my blood since I was 4 or something, I think.
So you start shooting the pilot, and how well did the four of you really know each other at that point?
Hardly a bit.
No?
I'd met Michael, and Michael knew Mickey, and that was about it. I mean, Michael used to run the hootenanny at the Troubadour. in West Hollywood, and so I met him there. And but that's all, just to say hi to, pretty much.
Is it true that Mickey Dolenz didn't want to play the drums? He had never touched a drumstick before in his life?
I don't know about that.
No?
And it certainly isn't true that he didn't want to. He just didn't know how to. I taught him his first drum lick.
Oh, yeah?
You like that? Okay, Mickey, you hit it here, and you let it up with your foot, you close your foot, and you hit it again.
So before the TV show goes on the air, September of '66, you record your first album. How much real input did the Monkees have in the first album, the one with Last Train to Clarksville?
Mike produced a couple of cuts on that album.
Did you?
Yeah, and but that was about it. Everything else, then all the lead vocals were always one of us. That's the one thing that we did for sure all the time. But as for the rest of it, we didn't do all the background vocals. We didn't do the instrumentals. Nobody played a single instrument on the first album.
Throwback Thursday tonight, continuing at DSW Shoe Warehouse on 82nd Street, and Peter Tork there after 7 o'clock, between 7 and 8 tonight.
And remember,
what?
Remember, say what you've been saying. One autograph.
Oh, yeah. We should limit it to...
Yeah, we'd like to do that. That way everybody gets in.
I just had a feeling we were going to have people with a big stack of albums.
That happens sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
What I ask is people, that we get through everybody once and they can come back again after this time.
Good.
Yeah.
Go back to the end of the line.
Yeah,
There you
go back to the end of the line. I'll do you again afterwards. If there's,
so Hollywood.
I know. Yes. My hair all spiky and everything is just. And then we'll do autographs afterwards.
Okay.
Just let everybody get one so that we can make sure that everybody gets one, and then we'll do others after.
September 12th, 1966, 7:30 p.m. ABC is showing Gilligan's Island. NBC has
Tales
the premiere.
of Wells Fargo, isn't it? Oh,
No,
NBC,
no.
but CBS had Tales of Wells Fargo.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And NBC
Cliff
has the
Robertson.
premiere of the Monkees. Is that a bad time slot against Gilligan's Island?
I remember that.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it would be the right thing for us to do. And the amazing thing is you'd sort of think that our audience would be watching Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
But in fact, the Monkees, this is the thing about the Monkees television show that I've always thought was really special. The Monkees was the first TV show, and maybe the only one ever, that had, until like Party of Five or something, that had late teen, very young adults with no senior supervision. Up till then, it was always my three stupid sons.
Yeah.
Father knows best, you dolt you. That kind, those kind of TV shows. And the Monkees, we were young men alone in the world making our way.
In the Monkees, the adults, the older people, were the bad guys for the first time ever in some of the episodes. It was the young people who were...
Right, and Gilligan's Island was well, there wasn't any much age thing, but still there was that, an assortment of characters, and Gilligan was dumb, but there was always these other adults around, and but so eventually we came to stand for something really quite special. The whole thing about the 60s, whatever you may say about them, and whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, the 60s were a really serious break time, what they call the generation gap. It didn't have to do with the music. Swing music, jump music is just as rockin' as the best rock and roll of the 60s. But what happened was that difference in that authority thing. The adults ran, these, he fought World War II, and the people who fought that started to assume authority positions. Come the 60s, and they had used up their entire moral bankroll. And the 60s kids were, we can't listen to you anymore. There was an article in Life magazine. They doctored a photo saying this kid was born under LSD because the mother took LSD. Well, they doctored the photo to make it look as though the kid had suffered chromosome breakage. No such thing ever occurred. They absolutely faked it. Now, how are you going to believe the adults when Life magazine is going to try to dupe you by lying to you about what's wrong for you? That destroys it. That's the end of it. You can't have that. And that was the break. That was a total. Don't you want to talk about chromosome breakage? Yeah. There it was, and that's why the 60s were so different. And what the great big switch, and the Monkees stood for that on television. Young people having to get along by themselves because you couldn't trust the adults, which you couldn't.
More about the Monkees, more with Peter Tork on Throwback Thursday coming up.
10th and Rural, 10th and Penn, and 86th and Michigan Road. Those are the scenes of accidents this morning. Oh, I like that. This traffic report brought to you by FC Tucker. That's 639 Talk.
This is it. Every morning we got to have Peter
wait,
Tork
I'm not
in
done.
here.
I was going to sing.
Oh, what?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Hey, you're interrupting me. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay. Well, that was fun. Peter Tork, our guest on Throwback Thursday.
Yeah, actually playing music. Couldn't play. They said we couldn't play our own instruments, and I had to borrow this guitar.
So literally today he's
Literally today,
not
I'm
playing his own instrument.
Literally,
Yeah.
quite literally not playing his own instrument.
Let's talk about a little bit more about the Monkees.
What a concept.
I'll name a Monkees TV personality, and you tell me if it was true off camera. Okay, Mike, the shy, smart one.
Mike's pretty smart.
Is he?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was shy.
But
I'm shy.
You are.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you're shy.
You wouldn't think so, but I am. No, this is all a ruse.
Okay.
Oh.
This is all a cover-up. I've spent years and years learning because being shy was like not a good thing. So I worked. This is all like a left-hander, writing with his right hand.
Wow.
Mickey, the funny wisecracker. Like that in real life?
Yeah, he's a funny man. He's a very funny man.
Okay, Davey,
So
girl.
is Davey. Davey's extraordinarily funny.
Is it?
Yeah, he has. He's said things, and quite deep sometimes too. David actually he's got some insight.
Peter, the airhead of the show.
Huh?
Yeah, you see, did that bother you during the run of the show?
No. I created that character. In fact, I created that character in Greenwich Village, on the stages. It was sort of like I said. This is like all the showbiz. It's all smoke and mirrors, right? Mm-hmm. I created that character partly as a way of like deflecting. Deflecting disaster. If I told a joke and it didn't go over, I put this face on, like as if to say, I don't know anything about jokes, but somebody told me it was funny, and it kept me from feeling like I had laid an egg. It was just something that I threw out there, and so that character just sort of evolved generally. And then when they did the auditions, they asked me if I minded playing that character on stage. I said, no, on the screen, no, fine.
The TV show got good reviews. The records were selling through the roof. But what did the critics say about your music?
At the time, nobody said boo.
Yeah.
Until later on. As a matter of fact, it was Michael who destroyed it for us.
Really?
Oh.
What happened?
Well, Michael, we were irritated, amongst Michael and I particularly, were irritated about the way the records were being made because we weren't included, we weren't in the loop. Now, I look back on it and I see that it was absolutely necessary. If I'm going to make a TV show about a bunch of rock and rollers and I'm taking 4 unknowns off the street, I'm not trusting them to make records. Who knows what disaster could occur, I'm going to get the pros. And that's what they did. They got the pros in there. So, or the Prozac. Anyway, so in any case, we went, they made the records without us, but being kids at the time, I didn't get it. And Michael, being a kind of person who wants to be in charge of everything at all times, which is something you didn't ask me about him, I would have said that was true.
Okay.
Control freak.
Control freak.
Write that down.
Absolutely, write that down. Michael Nesmith is a control freak, and it's not libelous. It being the way we were, Michael and I particularly, Davey and Mickey thought it was okay because that's the way actors did records. Tab Hunter made a record, they made it. They didn't ask him what he wanted, So Michael and I were upset about that, and Michael spilled the beans. Said, "Call us fake because by God we are." And like wolves to this is like sharks to blood. Those guys, the press went right to it, and that was the end of it for us.
Did it not occur to them? I mean, and this was because that you weren't playing the instruments.
That's right.
Did it not occur to them that the Beach Boys weren't playing the instruments?
Birds didn't play their instruments.
Supremes, Four Seasons, nobody
Frank Sinatra, right?
Except for the Beatles. I don't know.
And
who
even they
Right.
had a few. The first 2 singles Ringo didn't play drums on.
So you start playing concerts then. Did that prove to everybody, yeah, we really can play?
No, nobody cared.
No, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Nobody cared.
Could you hear what you were playing at all? Could anybody hear it?
Not hardly. In those days, there weren't any monitors. We did not know what we were singing except what came back to us from the PA. They did not mic our amps, so that what the last kid in the back row of 18,000 screaming teenagers heard, I was standing right in front of. Ask me how my hearing is.
How's your hearing?
What?
How good of musicians were you at that point?
Well, I had, 5 or 6 years of piano and taken French horn for a couple of years in high school and college and played banjo and bass. And I had gigs as a bass player and a guitar and banjo player. I was a professional musician. Michael was a folkie, and he was darned interested in being, and he'd played guitar all his life. Mickey was a campfire guitar player. He was in a group. You won't believe this. Mickey was in a group called the Missing Links.
Yeah.
Before the Monkees. Before the Monkees. You won't believe. Davey was no instrumentalist at all. But he's quite a musician because you don't get to be in Broadway musicals on Broadway if you can't do music. And Davey was the original Artful Dodger on Broadway. So, it was, everybody had some skills, but none of us was a really accomplished musician.
Do you remember the first time you met the Beatles?
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, boy. Well, the first time I met a Beatle, I was, before the Monkees were on the air, I met George Harrison at Cass Elliott's. I was going with Cass Elliott's sister at the time, and she said, my then girlfriend, Leah, called her sister, Cass. What's doing? Well, George is coming over, but don't you guys come over here? And we went over anyway.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
There's a Beatle.
Don't tell us that. Right. So we went over and I met George Harrison, told him about that. And I was a little intimidated, to exaggerate mildly, understatement.
Yeah.
What was he like?
Well, he was fine, but I was just, I was completely flustered. I'm totally starstruck. Later on, when the Monkees played London, a meeting was arranged. The Beatles hung out at a club called it was called Speakeasy, and they had a room. There was a sort of a private room that the Beatles could go to and hang out at and drink. And we were there and we met.
What did the Beatles think of the Monkees?
All I ever heard from any of them was strictly looking at us as individuals. There was all that stuff about the flack about the Monkees, and the people who gave us the hardest time were the middle talent people who had one-hit wonders and did a song now and again, or wannabes. The Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, the Beatles, those guys just looked at us and saw what was going on. The Beatles said, they're nothing like the Beatles. They're not like us at all. They're much more like the Marx Brothers. And we were much more like a Marx Brothers kind of a thing than sort of a combination of Marx Brothers and Beatles type thing. But they knew that we weren't they, and that we weren't a threat to them. When I was a kid, when we were touring New York, we had a bunch of fans outside the hotel, and over in the corner were a small bunch of kids holding up Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and we went, yeah, right, we love that stuff. And they went, no, you don't. You guys are awful. No, we love the Beatles. We are Beatles fans. No, you're not. They couldn't let us like the Beatles because they liked the Beatles and they didn't like us. So it's like that, that whole, thing. Friends of my enemies are my enemies, and vice versa. No middle ground for these people.
Going to play another Monkee song and more.
You're not.
Yes. Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited. Best Monkees album of all time right here?
No. Well, maybe. It's hard to know. I'm so fond of Headquarters because that was the one that we actually got to play on. That was our album. That was the garage band that we actually became, playing its debut album. And we had a good time, and I thought we put some good records together, and I thought it stands up. It's a little thin, but what the heck? So were we at the time.
You start singing a little bit more. I got words here. You sing a little bit on words.
Sang some on words, sang some on Shades of Grey, and a little bit here and there.
You take your pick. I got words and Shades of Grey ready to go. Which one do you want to hear?
I think, Shades of Grey was that woman's favorite song. Let's play it for her.
Okay, here we go.
You're listening to Throwback Thursday.
Gold 104.5.
Sounds pretty good, actually.
Still like it after all these years?
Yeah, it sounds, with a few exceptions. Mike wrote those horn and cello parts, and I transcribed them and handed them, and the horn player, gosh, I didn't realize he was as good as he is. It sounds so good.
Wasn't that cool?
It's all wonderful.
Oh,
Yeah.
What a good time.
Is that what do you have a favorite Monkee song?
I think of all of my favorite hit is Pleasant Valley Sunday. That's far and away the best piece of music structurally. There's so many good little second, obscure songs that I just really like a lot. Ryu Shiu is a song that was never on a record, but it's an old medieval Spanish Christmas song or something that we sang once live on the Christmas episode. And gosh, that's good. I think it's the only song where it's a cappella, and it's the four of us singing, and you can't tell who's singing which part. The blend is so good.
Why did the Monkees not come back for a third season?
Beats me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Would you have wanted to?
Well, I remember them asking me at the beginning of the second season, what do you guys want to do a third season? At the time, we were using leftover first-year scripts, and they were awful. And I said, not if it isn't any better than this. By the time the good scripts came around, the decision evidently had been made because nobody checked back with me. As far as I know, that was it.
But you did decide to do a movie at that point.
We did decide to do a movie, and we wanted to do a movie that was not another episode. I'd seen movies made from TV series, and all they did was just expand the episodes, and we said, well, let's not do that. And so we didn't, and the movie died.
It was a good movie.
I thought so.
It does well in rentals. People go to rent it. Why did nobody go to see it back in '69?
It was so terribly promoted. It was promoted as a hippie head movie to the teeny boppers and as a teeny bopper to the heads, and so nobody got it. It was all badly marketed. And I think the producers were upset with us personally because we were beginning to act like there's always this problem when your children start acting like they know who they are. It's always conflict with the adults, and the producers actually didn't like us growing up. I mean they were conflicted. They had their Geppetto complexes.
This is a good one for Monkees fans. See, it's called Head, and it should be in your video stores.
Yep.
One more thing, there was the 33 1/3 Revolution per Monkee TV special. After that, the first Monkee quit, and the first Monkee to quit was...
Moi.
Yeah.
Was I. I was all of us have quit. As it turns out. We've all quit at various times. Michael quit after a while, and then there was Davey and Mickey going on alone, and then the three of us got together, and Mickey quit, and then just recently Davey quit. So now maybe we're finally done. Who knows? Maybe we'll get back together, maybe we won't.
Life After the Monkees, coming up on Throwback Thursday with Peter Tork. The Monkees, after your career with the Monkees ended for the first time. 1970s, you disappear for a little while.
I disappear. Yes, I do.
What were you doing?
Let's see. As soon as the Monkees was over, I went to Marin County to try to recapture some of my Greenwich Village day happiness, and I did. I was very lucky. There was a lovely scene in Fairfax, Marin County, and I had a great time up there for a couple of years. Worked as a waiter in a cooperative restaurant, and it was great. It was actually great. The thing about the Monkees that was so difficult was to be yanked out of, off the street, flung to the pinnacle, and then dropped. So I went back to the street where I had gotten my roots together. It was great.
Were you living in David Crosby's basement for a while?
No, not in his basement, but in his apartment.
In his apartment.
Yeah, David let me have his, not his apartment, he had a house, and David let me stay there for most of a year. It was sort of by way of interest on the loan I gave him to buy his boat, and stayed there with my then girlfriend, and our daughter was born in that house.
In the house?
In the house, yeah, live
on
at
purpose,
home
or
birth.
you
That's
just,
right, at home.
yeah,
No,
okay.
at home birth. Yeah,
All right.
that was what we wanted.
Ooh, Bruce, are you thinking about that, maybe?
No,
okay.
no.
All right, he's expecting a baby. His wife.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And that name.
Yeah, excited, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Eyes just brighten up. It's great.
You've described yourself as a chemical abuser. You said, I can't drink coffee moderately. I'm an addictive type.
It's true.
Got pretty bad in the 70s.
Oh yeah. It was, it was toward the end of the 70s that it overtook me, and I had to go get help, which, thank God, was available. And actually, I don't know, it's like I had to give up trying to do it by myself. And once I gave that up, then I was able to get the help I needed.
You spent some time in prison.
I spent no, I didn't, months. Mm-hmm. in a federal joint in Oklahoma.
What happened?
They caught me coming across the border with about $3 worth of hashish.
$3 worth?
Yeah, $3 worth.
So they put you in federal prison for that?
It's about
you
about a
crossed
buck.
state.
Yeah, I was coming.
Yeah.
No, worse than that. I came back from Mexico with it.
Oh, well, there you go.
I took it down there and I came back with it. They said smuggling, but as a matter of fact, I am legally entitled to say I've never been arrested because my record's been cleared as a result of them, to the probation. That particular kind.
Between you and us, what was it like? What was your cell like where you spent 3 months?
It wasn't a cell. It was a dorm, and you want to know what it was like?
Yeah.
It was like burning off some leftover high school karma.
How do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, it's like I had been dodging bullies all the time in high school, and I finally learned to face them. I couldn't dodge them. You had to learn to face them. The bad boys are there, and there's nowhere to go. So you got to learn to cope face to face, and I did. I learned to deal on a human basis. That's what it came down to. I didn't have the tools to face guys on a human basis. I had no human tools, and I got those together, and then I got this jail thing, and I deal with these guys. You say no, it's like that's the line from the Beach Boys song. I get around. We've been bugged. The bad guys know us, and they leave us alone.
Yeah.
That's what it is. The bad guy. They knew me, and they left me alone. That was all there was to it. It's just I'm not going to play your game. I'm not going to kowtow. No, I don't want to have anything to do with you. No, I'm not interested in getting in the middle of your game either. We just leave each other alone. Everything's okay. Fine. End of story. And that's what it took. And that's what it was for me, karmically speaking, in that kind of transcendental sense.
Did fans know where you were during that time? No idea.
Now they do.
No, they
Thank
didn't.
you, Bruce.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Jennifer Nairmore, Weather Channel meteorologist, is here. Jennifer.
They told me you'd done all your homework.
Hey there.
Oh,
Hey.
yeah, Bruce. He does.
What's that?
9971 for information.
Sorry, was I cracking?
Bag of
Gold
popcorn.
Rush traffic. Gold 104.5.
Okay.
Yeah, Peter got a lot.
I'm sorry, I got all these kind of goodies. I'm eating popcorn. Crunch, crunch, crunch.
That's
Sorry.
It is
quite
it's
all
green.
right.
Yes, some of it's green.
Green and yellow or
Jalapeno and cheese.
Ooh.
You continue to...
Actually,
what?
let me...
Oh, yeah, we got a card.
the Alexandria's gift basket. Sally Trebing gave me this basket. It's really
How
great.
sweet.
Isn't it wonderful?
That's nice. That's nice. You're still making music. Are you still playing with James Lee Stanley?
I'm still playing with James Lee Stanley. We're going to be in... where are we going to be? We're going to be in North Carolina in May. And I have a blues band.
That's
called the Shoe Suede Blues.
What do you play? Blues music, I assume?
We play blues. We play some Chicago blues. We play some rockabilly blues. That's what the name comes. Blue suede shoes.
Yeah.
And Rip It Up. Little Richard's Rip It Up. And we find ourselves loving to play some swing. Just jump swing, jump blues. What they call
Swing is
jump,
so big
basically,
right now.
basically jump blues. Jump blues boogie. And I'm working on an album of my own, a sequel to the one you have in your hand there, Bruce.
Stranger things have happened.
That's my current album. It can be available. You can get that by dialing 1-800-6-MUSIC-0. And yeah. And,
Let's play something.
Well, I got a couple more questions.
Couple more questions. Then
Can I
we'll
ask
play.
a couple more questions?
Yeah.
We'll play a few cuts from it after.
There have been a few Monkee reunions over the years. Mike Nesmith seems to be hot and cold on the Monkees, sometimes in, sometimes out.
Yeah, mostly out.
Would you rather have him in or would you rather have him out?
If he was, depending.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd rather have him in, all things considered. I think that it makes an event when he's there that isn't when he's not. Mike has ideas about himself, that sometimes seem to, I don't know, the last time he got together, we got together because he was just a couple things came together. He caught the episode of Friends, and he said, gee, that sounds like us playing the theme song there. And then he started to think about some old Monkees songs, and his girlfriend said, well, who's playing bass on that cut there? And he said, well, Peter. Did he write that part? Yeah, well, so his girlfriend liked my work and said, maybe we should play. And at that time, he was developing a thing for ZZ Top, and he wanted to play guitar like that, sound like that on guitar. And we were the vehicle for it, so we got together and we made a record called Justice, which is not a bad record, I don't think.
No, it's good.
And then we toured England, and then I think then Mike changed his mind for reasons that I don't quite understand. But what the heck?
He did the TV special. He wrote it and directed it. Didn't
Wrote
he?
and directed it.
Was that 96, 97?
Yeah, I guess February
I
'97.
got to tell you, I really enjoyed that. Did you remember seeing it, Eileen? What happened is the premise of it was, it's 25 years later, and the four of them
are still at it.
still living in the same house.
That's right. Yeah.
Still driving the same car. Still looking for gigs.
Still looking for gigs. Nothing's changed, right? Nothing has changed. And only the wonderful thing that I think Michael brought to that show was the premise that the show was being produced as we actually lived it. And Mickey had this idea for a thing that was going to get us over, but every time he did it, he ate up special effects budget, and we wound up having to use stock footage just to fill out the show. The show was called A Lizard Sunning Itself on a Rock.
Throwback Thursday with Peter Tork.
Yes.
Eileen said she wanted to hear what Peter Tork sounds like today.
Yeah, I
the
do.
album Stranger Things Have Happened.
There's my album, Stranger Things Have Happened, available 1-800-6-MUSIC-0.
Okay.
And we're going to play, this is really, ka-ching. This is an acoustic version of my arrangement of a song that was the B-side of the Monkees' first single. It's called Giant Step, written by Carole King. And in the background vocals are Mackenzie Phillips and Owen Elliott, Cass's daughter.
Mackenzie Phillips from One Day at a Time?
From One Day at a Time,
Yeah.
So you listen to the new mamas are singing in the background.
So this would have been the flip side of Last Train to Clarksville?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Gold 104.5 WGLD Indianapolis. That's what Peter Tork sounds like now.
I love it.
That was cool.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very
I love
much.
it.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, I'm still. Never mind.
What?
I was going to say, hey, I'm still a monkey in the
Yeah.
minds of almost everybody, and I'll have the Monkees on my back for the rest of my life. What the
Oh,
heck?
God.
And I'm the only one of only 4 guys in the world who can say
Who
that.
can really say that?
That's true. That's true. We're going to continue this tonight. DSW Shoe Warehouse at 7 o'clock tonight. Look at this. We got to go.
No,
It's time to go.
I want to stay.
You can stay as long as you want. If
Yeah.
you want, you can hang around.
Yep.
yeah.
If you got
But
nothing
you're
else to
leaving.
do. Eileen's leaving.
Well,
Oh.
I got the preschool carpool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to leave. I've come for what I came for. I got my plugs in. I've had my way with you all, and I'm taking off. I made promises, but I'm sorry, baby, they won't keep.
What a shame. But you're going to be. Can I interest you in some shoes, Mr. Tork?
You surely can.
Okay.
So I'll be at this shoe store tonight.
Yes, DSW Shoe Warehouse on 82nd Street, west of Allisonville, between 7 and 8 o'clock tonight.
We did actually do a Monkees shoe thing. Once upon a time, there was a chain store. Now I don't think they're around anymore, called Tom McCann. We did some shoe ads for them. This is kind of funny. We did one really brilliant ad that. Oh, never mind. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Next time you're here, tell us all about it.
We'll do shoes. We'll do shoe stories.
It has really been fun. It's really been a
It's
pleasure.
been a great joy. The time has whipped by.
It really has.
I was expecting to be here for like interminably, but it's
Your
like I'm leaving
expectations
too
were
early.
low.
And they and they only sank. No, it's been great, and I'd love to do it again sometime. So
anytime,
invite me again, and I'll have to airfare to Indianapolis from.
That's it. We'll have you again.
Great.
Good. Thank
Thanks
you very
again.
much.
Lovely hanging, you guys.
Hey,
Take care.
thanks a lot.